Guys, this is a series of talks designed specifically for you, the junior class. You're headed off in November, as most of you are well aware, to your Education Beyond the Classroom, that EBC trip that is taken every year to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And I can tell you from first-hand experience, because I went in 2004 with the junior class, that it is a fantastic trip. You will be busy every moment. You will see things that you've heard about and read about and thought about for a very long time, and now you'll have a chance to see them up close and personal. There's so many opportunities there in Washington. On every corner, literally, there is something that's important, and I look forward for you for your trip. But I hope that you'll take this chance in the weeks before your trip to learn a little bit about what you're going to see. And the way I want to tease you with it is by telling you a little bit of a story that happened when I was in Washington in 2004.
We entered the memorial about the same time. I was at the end of the line of my students who had rushed ahead, and he, on the arms of possibly a grandchild or nephew or niece, had been walked in by this man and woman of about my age. He, although 75-ish or so, moved steadily forward until we were about to step down into the entrance to the main part of the memorial when he stopped, so abruptly, in fact, that I almost ran into him from behind. The look on his face told me what I had already guessed from his age. He was there. For me, this was just a visit to a place of reflection. For him, it was the reliving of a moment in his life. I couldn't keep my eyes off watching him. As we walked around observing the various inscriptions and fountains and sculptures, I wondered what he was reacting to. I wondered if the wreaths on top of each pillar meant something different to him. As he looked at the name of his state, I wondered, was he thinking of friends that he had lost, hometown buddies? I read the quotes and inscriptions and was inspired. I wondered if for him they were a secret encouragement, something that kept him going at a time when he had to draw upon everything that he had. After a while, he sat down on a bench with his two companions wedged close beside him, as if they were giving him both physical and moral support. He was looking straight ahead, but on his face I saw a sad and tired and pained look, but somehow, in spite of that, it was mixed with a pride and a look of satisfaction that could only be worn by someone who has paid a great price. I couldn't help myself. I hesitated. I thought that I really didn't have any right to invade this private moment, but much as his feet had been on their own when he saw the sight of the hall itself, mine answered their own call. Moving beyond emotion and just common etiquette, I walked up to him and bent down to meet his eyes and asked what of course was an obvious question. "You were in the war, weren't you?" My voice was soft, and his lips quivered as he replied back with a melancholy yes. And then I said it. Something inside of me said it. Thank you. Thank you for me, for my family, for all of these, my students, as my hand swept over the outline of the memorial. In his eyes, they started to tear. His voice couldn't speak words, and his sounds were muffled sobs. And in that minute, it was as if something had uncorked in him and released. And his shoulders dropped, and with every tender cry, his body again sent its undeniable message. It spoke loudly. It said, I was there. I saw and heard and felt what war was like. And I walked away from that moment wondering what it was that war meant to him. Was it about pride? Was it about passion? Freedom? Love of country? I hope that as you look to the books that I've selected for you to examine, you too will want to know what it was like for him and so many others just like him.
The first book I'd like to introduce you to is called The Good Fight, written by Stephen E. Ambrose. Mr. Ambrose was a writer of renown for historical works, but I think you're going to find that this one is tailored just for you. I think the thing you'll like the best about this book is the number of photographs that are in it. Each two-page spread includes a whole page that's devoted to just photo. Once those devastating bombs dropped on Pearl Harbor, America was in it all the way. We had been holding back, wanting Europe to fight its own fight, but once our shores were threatened, that's all it took. Adolf Hitler didn't think that we were much to worry about. He thought the American soldier was pretty soft and they'd do a poor job of being a military organization. Well, by 1945, the U.S. Army had raised to almost 10.5 million men. I wonder what he thought when he saw that coming. One of the most difficult things to look at in this book is a photograph of a young child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, who had been exposed to the atomic bomb in either Nagasaki or Hiroshima. His face is forever damaged by the effects of the radiation, and it reminds me, as I'm sure it'll remind you, of the price that we pay for freedom. The next book I want you to know about is called The Usborne Introduction to the Second World War, and it's written by a fellow named Paul Dowswell. And I think the best part of this book for you is that it's internet linked, and that means as you're thumbing through the chronological time frame of what happened from the beginning to the very end of World War II, you can also go to the internet and see what is built around the text for you. There's lots of images in this book itself, but I think the experience on the internet will even be better. Well, one of the things that was definitely going on in the time is the development of a new language. Words that weren't sanitized or glamorous or polite or even pleasant. The new lingo of the trenches that was captured for all to see in this book by Paul Dickinson. His book is entitled War Slang, and it gives you evidence of different fighting words and phrases that were used from the Civil War to the war in Iraq. And I think that you'll find some of the words for World War II kind of interesting, to say the least. See if you can guess what this is. It's from the book, and it's one of the sidebars, and it's entitled An Ode to Bully Beef. You can eat it with your eyes closed and a clothespin on your nose. You can eat it in the mess hall or out where the kunai grows. You can serve it up in dishes, camouflaged beyond belief, but no matter what you call it, it will still be bully beef. You can boil it, fry it, stew it, serve it cold or piping hot. You can mix it up with gravy or leave it there to rot. But no matter how you mix it, you will always come to grief, for no matter what you call it, it will still be bully beef. Well, gang, a lot of these words I can't repeat for you, but I would like you to take a peek at the book because I think it gives you a glimpse into the time, a time where an environment was very unfriendly, and so was the enemy, in which was on the other side of the battlefield. War isn't pretty, and some of these expressions aren't either, but they do give you a glimpse of what it was like to be in the field, talking to your buddies, trying to keep your head about you, and express your fear and your belief and your hope all in the same time. The last book I want to share with you is by a fellow named Bill Malden, and at the time of writing his book in 1945, he was just out of the Army. He was an infantryman in the 180th Infantry Regiment of the 45th Division, and he was stationed in Italy and particularly in Sicily. And he was just out of his teens when he joined the Army and went to become a cartoonist and published his work in the military newspaper, the Stars and Stripes. Malden understood the infantryman, that gravel crusher, ground rat, dog-faced soldier who did all the hard work and put his life on the line and was out there in the front most of the time. His characters, Willie and Joe, were really well loved, so much so that the generals didn't like them at all because they had sort of an irreverent, disrespectful, but truthful approach to the war. Malden immortalized the ordinary American fighting man with his comic strip approach to the mud and the rain and the gallows humor and the fortitude and the dislike of privilege, where the officers were able to maybe circumvent some of the harsh realities of war when the infantryman himself could do no such thing. But in spite of all of this, his drawing somehow captured also the nobility of Americans in war. He understood their gripes and their fears and their jokes, their opinions, and he drew accurate portrayals of what life was like in the everyday war. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video book talk, and I hope you will take advantage of the things that I've mentioned to you today and come by the library and take a peek and look at them firsthand, check them out, or just browse while you're there. I think they'll make a difference in how you enjoy your trip, and I'm really glad that you guys get to go. Thanks so much for your time. See you soon.